And of course, in our coverage of the trade war, it's not only Canada. Mexico is also facing punishing U.S. tariffs. And just this morning, President Claudia Sheinbaum said her government may reach out to Canada and other countries about it. She's also expected to have a phone call with the U.S. president tomorrow. So now for more on this, we've reached Arturo Sarukhán. He's Mexico's former ambassador to the United States. Thank you so much for making time for us today.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Ambassador, first I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of collaboration in this critical point between Canada and Mexico when it comes to these tariffs.
This is a critical point because, as you may recall, a couple of months ago, Canada was tempted to throw Mexico under the bus when Trump started to threaten punitive tariffs against both USMCA partners. And in the past, there's always been sort of a conditioned reflex in Canada that anything that trilateralizes the North American agenda subtracts from the US-Canada bilateral relationship. That's a mistake. When Mexico and Canada in the past have worked together, whether it was to renegotiate the original NAFTA back in the 90s, whether it was to successfully navigate the renegotiation of NAFTA into USMCA when Trump was in power the first time, by working together, Canada and Mexico have always achieved a positive sum game for both countries in the interests of both countries. And they should be talking together right now as to discuss how we're going to respond to this, what countervailing measures can reinforce what each capital city, Ottawa and Mexico City, are implementing in the face of these unfair, unjustified tariffs which the Trump administration is levying on both trade partners.
Now, we know that we were listening into Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's news conference yesterday in response to the tariffs that were put in place by the United States. And in it, he said that there may be a strengthened relationship here with Mexico when it comes to trade, something that they should be collaborating on. How do you think that should look? Should it be reconfigured?
Well, you've got a big sin of origin in all of this, which is, on the one hand, the Trump administration has said that these 25% punitive tariffs are explicitly related to fentanyl and migration. And Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick in the past 48 hours has continued to say that depending on whether both Canada and Mexico can do enough on these two fronts, that may change the dynamics of the tariffs that have been placed on both nations. But at the same time, President Trump, even yesterday morning before his speech to a joint session of Congress last night, explicitly said that the purpose of these tariffs are to disincentivize U.S. investment in both Canada and Mexico. So there's a bit of a problem here with how the U.S. administration is talking about the reason behind these tariffs. You've also got the proverbial moving goalposts, because what is enough? What is enough in terms of collaboration on fentanyl? What is enough on collaboration on immigration? There's never been a clear measure of, okay, we need you to stop X amount of fentanyl, or we need you to stop X number of migrants trying to cross the border into the United States. So this really makes it hard for the three of us to sit down and say, okay, what is it that you need? What is it that we can do? What is it that we're willing to do? And the other challenge that you have here, obviously, is what I think is a very dangerous precedent, which Mexico already saw again in the first Trump administration, which is linkage of different issues in our respective agendas. You don't link trade to migration or fentanyl because you contaminate the agenda as a whole. And so we've got to de-link, we've got to solve fentanyl issues within the law enforcement silo. We've got to address migration issues under a paradigm of shared responsibility in the migration bin. And if there are issues that we need to look at in trade, and remember, we've got a review process coming down the road in July of 2026, which is designed precisely to be able to address, tweak, improve our trade agreement. That's where we need to look at relevant trade issues if that is the case.
You know, I also want to focus in on the response. To your point, certainly we also heard from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that it is difficult to know what it is precisely that Donald Trump wants out of this.
Exactly.
And we talk about a shifting goalpost and not even really knowing what the goalpost is, to your point here. I also want to talk about Mexico's response. We've heard Canada's. President Sheinbaum has said that her government will also impose retaliatory tariffs, that on Sunday we are expecting to learn more details about that response. What do you expect to see in terms of products, industries, amounts?
Well, first of all, we'll have to wait and see what happens in this call that they have, that Trump and Sheinbaum have scheduled for tomorrow. If there's any movement, we're hearing rumblings that there may be some form of initial agreement that there could be carve-outs and exceptions for these tariffs based on rules of origin. That is, products that have a very high North American content may be exempt from these 25% tariffs. That is still to be seen. My concern here, obviously, is that given that President Sheinbaum has said that she will announce Mexico's response on Sunday in the Central Plaza in Mexico City, she has convened a demonstration. That makes me worry a bit, because once you go into what I would call plebiscitary diplomacy, that is not a usually good companion of intelligent decision-making in the face of Trump's my way or the highway approach to foreign policy. It may resort to sort of jingoism, nationalism, which is never, again, a good companion in this very complex, very dynamic bilateral relationship between Mexico and the United States. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, first of all, what happens tomorrow. If there are any more signals from the Department of Commerce in the U.S. that there may indeed be some mechanism of carve-outs or exceptions, the call tomorrow between both leaders, and then obviously what she announces on Sunday, depending on how things went tomorrow in that phone call.
Lots to continue to watch, and we know that lots is developing minute by minute on this story. I appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
That is Arturo Sarukhán. He is the former Mexican ambassador to the United States. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.